My wife, with whom I've been married for 18 years, didn't tell me that she would become a surrogate mother and then blamed me for all her problems. I'll start from the beginning. I tied the knot with Emily, convinced she was the one meant for me, my soulmate through and through. For 8 solid years, we had this calm, easy happiness, not fireworks every day, but steady and good. We brought 3 kids into the world, including a pair of twins, and those little rascals became the heartbeat of our lives. Emily and I set up shop in a quiet suburban spot, where the street stayed peaceful and the lawns looked like they'd been trimmed with a ruler. I still think back on those early days with a grin. The stillness of those nights out there wrapped around me like a blanket, making me feel like we were tucked away in some safe little world where nothing rotten could touch us. After work, we'd kick back, the house ringing with our laughs, the twins gurgling in their cribs, and our oldest already wobbling around the living room like he owned the place. Most nights, I'd walk through the door and Emily's smile would light up the hallway like a beacon. She'd throw her arms around me, crack a playful gripe about diaper duty or what's for supper, and man, everything just felt right, too right to ever guess how fast it could all fall apart. Then last 6 months hit, and it all started with one call Emily made without even looping me in. That single move smashed our marriage to bits, leaving me with nothing but a bitter taste of betrayal, a fire in my chest, and this gnawing itch to get even. If somebody had warned me back then that Emily's loyalty could wear that thin, I'd have laughed in their face and called them a damn fool. But here's the kicker, loyalty can evaporate quicker than spit on a hot skillet when someone decides their partner's opinion doesn't count anymore. One night, she just laid it out there, like dropping a grenade in my lap. Turns out her twin sister Olivia and Olivia's husband Daniel were desperate for a kid. They'd been wrestling with infertility for years, and Olivia's doc finally threw out surrogacy as the fix. Emily had already signed herself up to carry the baby for them, but the real gut punch wasn't even the plan itself, it was that she'd started the whole thing without so much as a heads up to me. She was already in motion, keeping me in the dark. I can still see that moment like it's burned into my brain. We were parked on the couch, side by side but miles apart, each stuck in our own heads. Some late-night comedy rerun was buzzing on the TV, but I barely noticed it. Emily flicked her eyes my way, phone clutched in her hand, and tossed out, "Nathan, I've made up my mind about something," all casual-like. That tone of hers set off warning bells. She only talked that light when she was about to drop a bombshell she'd already locked in, no matter what I'd say. My gut twisted up. I hit mute on the remote and said, "All right, what's up? You've got that serious look." She brushed a dark strand of hair behind her ear, "Cool as you please. I'm gonna be Olivia's surrogate." I blinked hard, like maybe I'd misheard. "Wait, what now?" She locked eyes with me, voice steady as a rock. "Olivia can't have a kid. She's been through a pile of IVF rounds, and zilch. Docs say a surrogate's her best shot, and since she and I share the same genes, I'm basically tailor-made for it. I've already been in touch with the clinic." She said it so flat and matter-of-fact, I half thought she was pulling my leg, until I saw her face didn't crack a smile, and my pulse shot through the roof. "You've already," I choked out, swallowing a lump. "Emily, are you saying you're pregnant with Daniel's kid?" She let out a breath. "It'd be Olivia and Daniel's kid, technically, their embryo. I'm just the oven." My jaw locked up tight. "And when exactly did you figure all this out without cluing me in?" She tilted her chin up. "I knew you'd lose it, Nathan. This is about Olivia, she's my twin, and seeing her torn up kills me. Daniel and I hashed it out, and I'm dead set on doing this." "Daniel and you hashed it out," I echoed, heat bubbling in my stomach like a pot about to boil over. "That's just peachy. Meanwhile, I'm your husband, and I'm the last to know. You got any clue how that lands with me?" Her eyes sparked with irritation. "Look, I'm sorry, all right? But it's my body, my call. I was hoping you'd back me up. Yeah, I should have told you sooner, but I figured you'd fight me on it, and this matters too much." I couldn't even talk for a second, my throat clamped shut with rage. So that's that? You're telling me to just deal with you carrying a kid that ain't mine? To sit back while you grow another guy's baby in our house, and I'm supposed to grin and cheer you on? Emily dropped her phone on the table and crossed her arms. Call it whatever you want, but it's happening. Olivia and Daniel need me. If you really love me, you'll get behind this. A cold, eerie calm washed over me, scarier than if I'd just blown up. Respect? You don't earn respect by blindsiding your husband with something that shakes our whole marriage. This ain't just about your body, it's about our family, us. She shot to her feet, fists balled up. Quit playing the martyr card. Olivia's family too, and I'm pulling her out of the fire. If you can't wrap your head around that, maybe I've been giving you too much credit all this time. That jab shoved me right off the cliff. Too much credit. Emily, if you go through with this, it's gonna rip us to shreds. She brushed past me, stiff as a board. Then maybe we ain't as solid as I thought. I stayed put, steaming, my heart thumping so loud it drowned out everything else. I tried sucking in air to cool off, but the sting of her betrayal cut so deep I couldn't even put a name to it. The house went dead quiet, heavy with the fallout of her bombshell. I told myself to chill out, but deep down, I knew it, everything was different now. The days after that were like walking on eggshells stretched tight enough to snap. Emily started yapping about doctor visits, fertility drugs, and implantation timelines, laying it all out like we were picking out cereal brands, not flipping our lives upside down. Every word she said made my stomach churn, hammering in how she'd torched any sense of us being a team. A couple nights later, I rolled in from work and spotted a box from some fertility clinic chilling in our fridge. The kitchen table was a mess, vials, syringes, and a stack of instructions sprawled out like a science project. Emily sat there, flipping through a fat wad of papers. What's all this junk? I snapped, waving at the chaos. She barely looked up. Hormone stuff. Gotta start it to prep my body for the embryo drop. Clinic sent it ahead of schedule. I stared at her, floored. You didn't think this was worth a heads up? She shrugged like it was nothing. I already told you the plan. We're done talking about it, I'm moving ahead. My voice came out low, wound tight. You're steamrolling right over how I feel. You don't give a damn that you're shoving me out, do you? She rolled her eyes. Don't get all dramatic on me. It's 9 months, then I hand the kid off to Olivia. I'm not swapping out our kids for a new one, this is for my sister. I growled under my breath, keep spinning it however you want, Emily. If you go through with this, Emily, I'm telling you straight up, I'm out of this marriage. She snapped her head up, eyes like steel boring into me. Nathan, if your ego can't stomach my choice, then go ahead and walk out the door. My face went hot, like someone lit a match under my skin. Ego? This ain't about ego, and you know it. It's about us being a team. You totally blindsided me, ran off and hashed it out with Daniel like I don't even exist. Her voice kicked up a notch. What's wrong with talking to Daniel? He's the dad of this embryo, it's his business too. I let out a dry, bitter chuckle. And I'm the guy you swapped vows with, or did that slip your mind? Guess that doesn't count for much anymore. She scooped up her stack of papers, brushing me off like I was yesterday's news. We're through talking, Nathan. I just stood there, a dull ache thumping in my chest. She couldn't, or wouldn't, see the wreckage she was piling up. My hands itched to snatch those fertility forms from her grip and shred them to bits, but I knew that'd paint me as the crazy one. So I spun around, left her to her shiny new mission, and tried to suck in enough air to keep my head straight. That night, lying awake in bed, I made up my mind, if Emily was dead set on going solo down this road, then fine. I'd call it quits with a divorce, 'cause no matter how I turned it over in my head, I couldn't stomach watching her belly swell with Daniel's kid. When Emily caught wind I'd reached out to a lawyer, she came barreling into the living room where I was helping our oldest with his homework. Rage poured off her like heat off asphalt, but she kept her hiss low so the kid, scribbling away with his crayons, wouldn't spook. I dropped the crayon, told the little guy to hang tight, and steered Emily into the hallway. "Keep it down," I said, firm but quiet. "I don't want the kids catching our mess." She shot me a death glare. "And you think it's fine to just sprint to a lawyer and kick off a divorce behind my back?" My chest flared up again. "I warned you what'd happen if you steamrolled ahead without me, and you did it anyway. I'm tired of being pushed aside." She shook her head, eyes glistening with tears, angry ones, not sad. "Nathan, we can patch this up. All you gotta do is accept I'm doing this, and we'll figure it out from there." I threw up a hand to stop her. "No, you're not listening. There's no patching this. You went behind my back, dipped into our money, signed up to carry a kid like our marriage was some side gig next to your sister's baby dreams. Did you really think I'd just nod and say, 'Go for it, babe, that's awesome'?" Her lips trembled. "I didn't figure it'd end in divorce." "Man, you're ice cold." I barked out a short, sharp laugh. "Maybe I am now, yeah. But I wasn't cold when you made that call. That's what froze me up." She opened her mouth to fire back, then clamped it shut, too mad to even string the words together, I guess. Finally, she spun around and stomped upstairs. I stayed rooted, heart hammering, wishing I could wake up and find this was all some twisted dream. Thing is, in our state, you've gotta do a full year of separation before the divorce papers can even get stamped. Emily knew that cold. And for at least part of that year, we'd be stuck under the same roof. She flat out refused to leave, said she had nowhere to crash, needed bed rest some days, and the kids deserved a steady home. I didn't want to yank my kids around either, so I put up with her being there. Put up with meant me claiming the master bedroom while she bounced between the guest room and the living room couch. We shuffled around like strangers renting the same space, barely grunting a word to each other. The kids, they're sharp, picked up on the chill fast. They'd ask why mom and dad didn't share the dinner table anymore. We'd plaster on fake smiles for their sake, but the air in that house was thick with strain, seeping into every nook. Then one weekend, Emily's twin Olivia rolled up with Daniel tagging along. I walked in to find them sprawled out in my living room, flipping through baby stroller catalogs like they'd bought the place. The kids were out back playing, so I didn't bother faking nice. Daniel popped up from my recliner when he saw me. "Nathan, hey, we're just, sorting stuff for the baby." Emily, rubbing her belly, barely starting to poke out, chimed in. "Daniel and Olivia want to make sure we've got what I need here to stay comfy." I stared her down. Why can't Daniel stock his own house with all that, since that's where the kid's gonna end up? Daniel let out a nervous laugh. "Well, we figured it'd help to have some gear here while Emily's carrying." I cut him off hard. "Don't you start talking about gear in my house like it's your personal nursery pit stop." Emily's cheeks went red. "You're being ridiculous, Nathan. What, you expect me to stand around at their place for hours when I'm queasy or need a breather? I live here." I clenched my jaw tight. "Yeah, you do. But maybe Daniel and Olivia oughta show a shred of respect and quit turning this place into their baby prep headquarters." Daniel glanced at Olivia, who stood behind the couch, arms crossed tight. She fixed me with a hard stare. "Nathan, it's not like we're thrilled to be here. We're just trying to keep this easy on Emily." My temper flared up hot. "Oh, right, so I'm supposed to play along. Maybe fetch her a snack, rub her feet, cheer on her cravings, all for a kid that ain't mine." Olivia threw her hands up. "Good Lord, we're family. This shouldn't be some mine or yours tug-of-war. It's about pitching in." I narrowed my eyes. "It quit being about family the second you two dragged Emily into this behind my back. Daniel sighed, all exasperated. Look, dude, I know it's weird doesn't cut it, I shot back. If you're so worried about Emily, deck out your place with all the bells and whistles from that catalog. Just don't do it here. Keep showing up uninvited, and we're gonna have a real problem. Emily jumped up, practically vibrating with indignation. You can't ban them from this house, it's mine too. I wheeled on her. Maybe you should have thought about that before you hitched your pregnancy to them instead of your husband. We locked eyes, glaring, until Olivia grabbed Daniel's arm. Let's get out of here, she said, voice quaking with fury. We don't need this. They bolted out. Emily spun on me, jabbing a finger my way. You're acting like a damn kid. Hope you realize you're pushing away our kids' aunt and uncle. I shrugged. I'd rather push them out than let them stroll in like my marriage is chopped liver. She stormed off, leaving me stewing in that familiar burn of rage that had pretty much set up camp in my gut. The months after that settled into a bleak grind. Emily's belly kept growing, she'd gripe about puking in the mornings, her back killing her, being dog-tired all the time. She acted like I'd still jump to help. She'd toss out stuff like, Nathan, can you grab me some crackers from the kitchen, or, how about a pillow for my back? I shut her down every time, flat out refused. She'd hiss, what kind of heartless jerk are you? You can watch the mom of your kid struggle and not lift a finger. I'd fire back, you're Daniel's surrogate, let him deal with it. Or call Olivia if he's busy. I've got my own stuff to worry about, you know, like keeping our kids fed and the house from sinking. Emily'd storm off after that, usually bawling, yelling about how mean I was being. But every tear she dropped just bounced off the wall I'd built around my heart. I kept telling myself she didn't give a lick about my feelings when she signed up to carry Daniel's kid without even a quick chat with me. So I figured I'd return the favor, zero sympathy from me. She tried laying on the guilt thick one night, showing up at my bedroom door, all pitiful-like. Nathan, I can't sleep, my legs are cramping bad. Could you rub em like you did when I was pregnant with the twins? Her face was this mix of pleading and wishful thinking as I stood there in the doorway. I just looked at her, flat as a board, and said, nope, then shut the door right in her face. The kids started picking up on the Cold War between us. My oldest tugged at my sleeve one day and asked, Dad, how come you don't hug Mom anymore? I swallowed down the sour truth and crouched to his level, keeping my voice soft. Sometimes grown-ups hit a rough patch, bud, but I love you to death, and I'm not going anywhere. The way his innocent little eyes looked up at me made me want to wring Daniel and Olivia's necks for dragging us into this mess, though, if I'm honest, most of that fire was aimed at Emily for letting it all go down. As the months dragged on, her family decided to stick their noses in. Her mom called me up, her tone oozing that holier-than-thou vibe. Nathan, I can't wrap my head around how selfish you're acting. Emily's out here doing this beautiful, generous thing for her sister, how can you not have her back? I shot back, icy as hell, maybe you oughta ask your girl why she cooked this up without a word to me. That kid ain't mine, I don't owe her a damn thing. Then her dad tried throwing his weight around, growling over the line, listen here, boy, you're headed down a real ugly road. Help Emily out, or we'll make sure you're sorry. I smirked at the phone, even though he couldn't see it. Funny you say that, 'cause I'm already sorry I trusted your daughter with my marriage. Bring it on with your threats. Click, they hung up on me. Her whole clan probably saw me as the devil incarnate, but I knew the courts wouldn't care about their sob story. Emily was knocked up with someone else's baby, dipping into our shared bank account without my okay, that'd land square on her shoulders. One of the nastiest blowouts hit around her 7th month. Emily waddled in that evening, belly big and bulky, lugging grocery bags that looked ready to slip out of her hands. She almost dropped one on the porch and hollered, Nathan, can you give me a hand? My back's screaming. I cracked the door open, arms crossed tight. Call Daniel or Olivia, they're the ones who got you in this shape. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I caught that spark of mad underneath. I just spent hours at the hospital for checkups, I'm beat. I'm still your wife, like it or not. I snorted. Not for much longer, and definitely not in any real way. You made that loud and clear. She let out this frustrated cry and turned to haul the bags in solo. A couple cans tumbled out, bouncing across the porch, but I didn't budge an inch. She ended up banging her forearm pretty good, wrestling everything inside. Out of breath, she dumped the bags on the kitchen table and glared daggers at me. You can't keep treating me like this, she spat. I raised an eyebrow. I ain't treating you any way, I'm just not stepping up as the doting husband you ditched. She slapped a hand on her belly, tears pouring now. When this baby's born, you're gonna regret being such a jerk. I let out a hollow laugh. Trust me, I won't. You'll be out the door, and that kid'll be gone from my life. She sucked in a breath like I'd slapped her, then bolted to the guest room, leaving the house so quiet it felt like it was choking me despite all the yelling. I let out a long breath, wondering if I'd gone too far. But every time a flicker of sorry for her tried to creep in, I'd flash back to how she'd made that choice all on her own, spitting on our marriage. My anger locked back into place. Then, out of nowhere, Emily went into labor in her 8th month, right around midnight. I heard her groaning in the hallway, then these panicked bangs on my door. Nathan, she yelled, voice shaky with pain. My water broke, oh God, the contractions are hitting hard. Help me, please. I opened up and saw her standing there, face twisted, hands clutching that huge belly, sweat plastering her hair down. For half a second, I remembered running around for her when our kids were born, but that got drowned out fast by the bitterness. I'm not driving you to the hospital, I said, cold as stone. That's Daniel's gig. Her eyes bugged out, like she couldn't believe it. Daniel's not picking up, Olivia's phone's dead to voicemail. I need to get there now. I shrugged and stepped back. Dial an ambulance then. She grabbed the doorframe as another contraction tore through her. Nathan, please, you can't just leave me like this. I met her stare. Watch me. She stumbled, tears streaming. You're a monster. I gave a sharp nod. Yeah, well, that's what happens when your spouse stomps all over you. Good luck with the kid, I'm hitting the sack. She sobbed as I shut the door. I heard her fumbling around out there, probably calling 911. Sure enough, 15 minutes later, the ambulance lights were flashing through my window, and I caught the sound of them carting her off. Guilt chewed at me for a hot second, but I shoved it down hard. She'd blown me off, why should I play hero for a baby that wasn't ours? Come morning, my phone lit up with calls from her mom, screeching voicemails about how I'd abandoned Emily in labor. I trashed them all after the first few words. She wanted to pop out a kid for her sister. Let Olivia's crew handle the fallout. Emily and the baby, a girl, born early but hanging in there, stayed at the hospital a few days. Olivia had her own health crap going on, so Daniel was running ragged between rooms. I kept on like nothing happened, dropped the kids at school, punched the clock at work, whipped up dinner. When Emily's mom rang to say, Emily's coming home in a couple days, I just said, her call, and hung up. I was parked in the living room with a book when she finally rolled in, pale, worn out, lugging the newborn in a car seat. She plopped it down, sighed deep, and sank onto the couch. The baby squirmed, letting out a little whimper. I stared at that tiny pink bundle, a living, breathing billboard for the surrogacy that torched my marriage. So, I said, keeping my tone short, why's the kid here? Shouldn't it be with Olivia? Emily shut her eyes. Olivia's still laid up with complications, Daniel's swamped. They asked me to keep her here a few weeks. I scoffed. They asked, or you jumped in? Big difference. She glared at me. What's it matter? I can't ditch her, she's defenseless. Should have thought that through before you signed up to be a surrogate, I fired back. But let's get one thing straight, I'm not lifting a finger. If the crying's too much for you, tough luck. She rubbed her forehead, a tear sliding down her face. Were you always this cold-hearted, or did I turn you into this? Emily muttered under her breath, like she was wrestling with the question more for herself than me. I shrugged and shot back, that's something you can chew on at night when that baby's hollering. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got actual kids to feed. She flinched like I'd hauled off and smacked her, but she didn't say a word as I headed off to whip up dinner. For the next month, that house turned into a war zone of baby screams every night. Emily'd stumble around, half dead on her feet, fumbling with bottles in the dim light. She'd drag herself to me, eyes ringed with dark circles, begging for a hand. Every single time, I turned her down flat. One night, she stood there, tears splashing onto the bottle she was clutching, and pleaded, "Please, Nathan, I just need 30 minutes to crash. The baby's been wailing for hours." I locked eyes with her, not budging an inch. "Go ring up Daniel, or your mom." She let out this choked, angry sob and spun away, the kids' cries bouncing off the hallway walls. I felt a quick pang for the little one, none of this was its fault, but this was Emily's mess, not mine. I wasn't about to let her off easy. Her folks started showing up all the time, jabbing fingers in my face, hurling names like monster, coward, lousy husband. Her dad loved pinning me down in the kitchen, growling, "You oughta be ashamed, Nathan. Emily's postpartum, she needs a break. You can't just ditch her like this." I'd stare him down and fire back, "She should have thought about that before she stomped all over my say-so. Daniel can deal with the kid, or your family can. Ain't my baby, ain't my headache." He'd storm off, muttering curses under his breath. It was a non-stop parade of them chewing me out, but I took it with a dark kind of grin. They could call me heartless all they wanted, the law was lining up on my side, especially once the money stuff hit the table. The divorce crawled along, slow as molasses, but it was moving. My lawyer dug up proof Emily had raided our joint accounts for surrogacy costs, sometimes even faking my signature to pull it off. Court papers laid it all out, the timeline of her sneaking around, her flat-out ignoring me saying no, her siphoning our cash. The judge didn't take too kindly to the forgery bit. Emily's lawyer tried painting me as some cruel jerk who left his pregnant wife high and dry, but since the kid wasn't mine and she'd kept her plans under wraps, that story didn't stick. Funny thing, Olivia and Daniel stayed real quiet about the money side, probably glad they weren't stuck footing the bill if Emily bled us dry. All they cared about was getting the baby, but with Olivia's health still a mess and Daniel's job shaky, they couldn't even take the kid full-time yet. So there we were, stuck with that baby in the house, a weird, tense setup nobody liked but couldn't ditch. By the time the final hearing rolled around, Emily was back on her feet physically but a total wreck from juggling a kid she'd have to hand over. 2 weeks before the court date, she cornered me in the living room while the baby napped in a bassinet. "I need some cash help," she said, straight to the point. I glanced up from my laptop. "For what, exactly?" She paused, then crossed her arms. "Doc says I should be taking it easy, healing up from postpartum, not scrambling for a job right off the bat." I cocked an eyebrow. "You're not my problem anymore, Emily." Her jaw tightened. "I'm still the mom of your 3 kids, she snapped. "This isn't about surrogacy cash, I'm talking money to live on, to feed our kids when they're with me, to cover my half of the bills." I shut my laptop slow and deliberate. "Once the divorce is done, I'll pay child support for our kids like the law says." "Spousal support? Not happening." Her eyes blazed. "I deserve some stability after all this. I put my body through hell, gave up my peace of mind. For your sister, I cut in. Not me. That's where the line's at." Her voice shook. "You're brutal, Nathan. Don't you care I'm wrestling with postpartum depression? I held her stare. I care about our kids. Not Daniel's baby, and not the postpartum you signed up for. You built this mess, deal with it. She clamped her lips shut, tears pooling. You're gonna regret this, she said, her voice quivering with fury and hurt. I shook my head. You've played that card before. The only regret's that we're even here. She swallowed hard, flicking a look at the baby. It kills me to say it, Nathan, but you're not the guy I used to know. I let out a grim chuckle. And you're not the woman I put a ring on. Life shifts, Emily. She stormed off, leaving me with nothing but quiet. The baby snoozed on, clueless about the battlefield it was stuck in. That last week before court, Emily made up her mind to bail, packed up and hauled the baby to her mom's place till Olivia could take over. She threw stuff into boxes like a whirlwind, tears streaking down as she folded her shirts. The kids, all mixed up, kept asking if Mom was gone for good. She'd plaster on a smile, promising she'd see them plenty and still love them to bits. They'd nod, but you could see the weight on their little faces. The day she split, she stood in the foyer, baby carrier by her feet, a suitcase in hand, looking at me with red-rimmed eyes. One last shot, Nathan, she said. Don't go through with the divorce. I'll figure out how to make it right. Please. Something tugged at my chest, but I let it fade. What, rewind time? 'Cause that's the only fix. You can't erase what you did. A tear slid down her face. I never thought I'd lose you, I just wanted to help Olivia. I nodded, bitterness creeping in. Yeah, you helped her all right, and burned our marriage to the ground doing it. See ya, Emily. She gulped, grabbed the carrier, and walked out, the door clicking shut behind her like a quiet thunderclap through the empty house. I shut my eyes, letting out a shaky breath. For the first time in forever, I felt something close to peace. We were almost done. At the final court date, Emily sat with her lawyer on one side, me with mine on the other. Daniel and Olivia perched in the back, both looking like they were waiting for a storm to hit. The judge, a no-nonsense woman who'd pored over every scrap of paper, heard it all out. Emily's lawyer tried a sob story about how I'd ditched her while she was pregnant and turned into some emotional bully. My guy laid it out clean. Emily cooked up the surrogacy solo, spent our money on it, even forged my name to make it happen. I told her no loud and clear, and she'd blown right past that boundary. When the judge finally opened her mouth, her words came out sharp and to the point. She called Emily out for trampling all over our marriage like it didn't matter. She made it clear the baby wasn't mine, so I wasn't on the hook for a dime or any dad duties. On the spousal support front, she didn't see why I should cough up a cent, especially with Emily dipping into our cash behind my back. Then she handed me primary custody of our 3 kids, giving Emily visitation rights as long as she could show she had her act together. Oh, and Emily had to pay back some of the money she'd swiped from our accounts. As the judge laid it all out, Emily's face just fell apart, tears rolling down, hand clapped over her mouth, shoulders trembling. Daniel and Olivia swapped these wide-eyed, panicked looks. My heart was pounding, sure, but mostly I felt like I'd won. Revenge? Done. I'd walked away from the wife who stabbed me in the back, and the law had my corner. We spilled out into the hallway after. Emily shuffled over, eyes puffy and red. Nathan, she whispered, her voice all shaky, I never meant for it to end like this. I'm sorry, really sorry. I screwed up, but I didn't think you'd shut me out completely. I looked at her, flashes of those nights I'd begged her to drop it running through my head, her brushing me off, acting like she knew better. You picked Daniel and Olivia over us, Emily, and you lied to my face about it. That's not just a slip-up, that's what broke us. She sucked in a jagged breath. I just hope you can forgive me someday. My eyes stayed ice-cold. You faked my signature. I pleaded with you to stop, and you wouldn't hear it. Forgiveness doesn't come that easy. See ya, Emily. Olivia edged up, reaching for my arm. Nathan, can't you see she's torn up? She did this for me. I yanked my arm back. You got your kid, Olivia. Now you deal with the mess. If you think Emily needs propping up, you and Daniel can handle it, I'm out. They just stood there, jaws slack, as I made for the exit. The hallway seemed to lighten up with every step, like some giant boulder had rolled off my chest. In the weeks after the divorce was locked in, Emily bunked with her mom, still stuck with the baby, till Olivia got back on her feet. During custody swaps for our kids, she'd show up looking worn thin, regret hanging off her like a shadow. She'd ask about the little ones, how they were holding up, and I'd give her short, civil answers but kept my walls up. She'd throw these sad, hopeful looks my way, fishing for a scrap of warmth. She didn't get any. Eventually, Daniel and Olivia took their baby off her hands. Word around town was they were scraping by, Daniel's hours got slashed at work, and Olivia's medical bills were stacking up like a bad bet. Emily, broke and scrambling, couldn't land a steady gig. Meanwhile, my kids started thriving once the storm cleared out of the house. We settled into a smooth groove, school runs, weekend trips, movie nights with popcorn. No more midnight baby shrieks, no more tiptoeing around a silent war zone. Every now and then, Emily'd text or email me, spilling her guts about regrets, how she never saw Daniel flaking out or Olivia's health tanking. She'd say being a surrogate didn't fix a damn thing, just stirred up more trouble. I'd shoot back curt replies, sticking to kid schedules and nothing else. One day, my oldest looked up from his Lego pile and hit me with, "Dad, do you still love Mom?" I stopped, dropped down next to him, and thought it over. I care about her, 'cause she's your mom, bud. But sometimes grown-ups change, and trust gets busted. He nodded, like that settled it, and went back to his bricks. Kids cut through the noise like that, I love them for it. No games, no hidden angles. 6 months rolled by, the divorce fading into the rearview. I held on to the house, kept my job steady, and had the kids most of the time. Emily floated in and out of their lives, never quite finding solid ground. Daniel and Olivia had their baby, but from what I heard, it wasn't all sunshine, bills piling up, money fights, no spare time to toss Emily a lifeline. She leaned on her folks, but they only pitched in so far. People'd ask me sometimes, why didn't you help her out after the birth? She was drowning, you could see it. I just say, she made a call that cut me out. She got the consequences. They'd shake their heads, muttering about me being ruthless. Maybe they're right. But in a